Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I'm feeling mad as a hatter and very much in the mood for diving down the rabbit hole to Wonderland. This can mean but one thing. We're going to play some Alice. American McGee's Alice and its sequel, Alice Madness Returns, are rightly considered cult classic games. They have a very passionate following, and if rumours are to be believed, there may be a third game, a trilogy ender, in the pipeline, very much in pre-production, called Alice Asylum. And I think for many people, what draws them to this sequence of games, much like myself, is the style. When I first saw the box art for Alice Madness Returns, I was struck by the way that Alice is portrayed as a psychopath, brandishing a bloodied knife, her dress smattered in the blood of her enemies, and a character for whom a jaunt through Wonderland dispatching random monsters could just as easily be a jaunt through her neighbourhood, dispatching the neighbours. This is a dark, twisted extension of Lewis Carroll's original Alice, and a world away from the blonde-haired, bushy-tailed Alice that I saw growing up watching the Disney animation. I love it. It's twisted, it's dark, it's gothic, it's steampunky, it's so many things that I really enjoy. And today I want to talk about this game, beginning with the menu, in fact. When you first press start on Alice Madness Returns, you're confronted with Alice, the model in more way than one. She's the game model, the in-game model, but also she's pristine, really, in many respects, as a vision of gothic beauty. She's symmetrical, gorgeous green eyes, over-engineered hair billowing in the breeze, with a hint of smatterings of blood. This is reminding us that Alice is at the heart of this story. As we play through Wonderland, we're exploring her mind and her trauma, in fact. And this version of Alice is her ideal self. She's not like this in the real world. This is her projection of herself, a bit like the Matrix, I guess, in that sense. And therefore, it's okay that she's almost too perfect in many respects. It's a wonderful beginning to the game. So far, I've had this game for a couple of months, and I've been playing it quite a lot. I've unlocked quite a fair few things. 24% complete. Obviously, I've had other things to do as well as play this game, and I found all but one weapon left to find in the shape of a teapot, methinks. Curious. Curiouser and curiouser, you might say. I've also taken the liberty of purchasing all the in-game costumes for Alice, because they're magnificent. I love the design of this game. We have the steampunk Alice dress, very thematic for this take on Alice in Wonderland. We have the caterpillar dress, very, very thematic, very much connected to the caterpillar, smoking his pipe and dishing out riddles. The Cheshire Cat dress, or the Cheshire dress, a mix between the Cheshire Cat and maybe something from Avatar, perhaps. Checkmate dress, very much a reference to the Red Queen. We have the Flesh Maiden, and I love that this is, she hasn't even got shoes on in this design, just blood up her legs, and some sort of twisted Cthulhu-like H.P. Lovecraft vision of horror. Late but lucky, very much referencing the white rabbit that she follows into Wonderland. She seems to have skinned him, perhaps, for the bow and for her shoes there. The Hattress, take on the Mad Hatter with shorter hair, which is, I think, very much appropriate for this costume, and the robot arm, very funky. And also finally the classic story mode dress with a skull on her bow. Even her standard dress is a bit darker than again anything we see in other versions of this story. And we're going to begin with a section of the game quite early on, the Vale of Tears, because I want to just talk about and think about some of the key themes of this game to start with. Firstly, the original story, Alice in Wonderland, is all about the tension between childhood and adulthood. Alice is having to make decisions about whether she's going to let go of childish things, silliness, oddness and weirdness, and become something a bit more acceptable to society. This is why the Red Queen, as a model of decorum, but a bit of a crazy woman, is so crucial in the story. In this game, they extend that and ask the question, is Alice also a little insane?
Very upsetting journey, but I'm rid of Press, or whatever she's become. At least the place I've landed is somewhat familiar.
There's the Cheshire Cat.
Time too, Alice.
Blasted cat. Don't try to bully me. I'm very much on edge.
Perfect. When you're not on
And
edge,
you're taking
up
up too much space.
You're no help at all.
But you know I can be.
I'll frighten myself when necessary, thanks very much. I was hoping to escape from all that.
Abandon that hope. A new law reigns in this Wonderland, Alice. It's very rough justice all round. We're at risk here. You be on your guard.
So this is a return to Wonderland for Alice, but it's not in the same way that she manages it in the books with the Looking Glass story. This is, of course, in the game continuity. But we are beginning in a very familiar-looking Wonderland-type environment. Wondrous flowers, giant marbles, dominoes in the sky. Oh. Edges that you can fall off. And also the ability actually to move around and dodge things by turning into butterflies. I'll talk a little bit more about game mechanics in a moment, but I love this as a beginning to the story. It's very reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland. It's very trippy. It's very much an escape from the world where our character begins. The vision of London that she starts off in is horrible. She's in therapy, living in a children's home. And through therapy, she's trying to reconcile with her own memories. So let's recover this memory, shall we?
You're part frog, Alice, I swear. You jump so well.
This is a memory reminding her that she jumps so well. Very much a tutorial type memory, I think. And as we proceed through the game, we are proceeding through her memories. We're collecting more and more perspectives on a crucial key event in her childhood when well, her family burned to death in a house fire. It's deliciously dark, isn't it? And in that sense, the darkness and the style and the themes of the story are really what carry the game. If you look at this in terms of game design, it is magnificent and it is very distinctive, drawing on, but also, as I say, expanding on Lewis Carroll. And in that sense, it's not a groundbreaking platformer. Going back and looking at some of the reviews for this game in 2011, it's clear that people weren't enamored with the slightly tired gameplay. It's very much style carrying the substance, but it's not style over substance. It's also a satisfying game to play. Let's recover this memory.
If you leap from that table again, Alice, I'll expire. You're 2 times too reckless, my girl.
So again, another little reminder that you can jump to new places. Let's see what's going on here. Aha! Now, in that sense, because of the style, I'm absolutely going to have to get hold of the art book at some point for this game. Recover memory.
Amanita muscaria, Alice, is merely a
Stinky toadstool. Spongy consistency, but poisonous. So reminding us that we can bounce on the toadstools. Cool. Now, I also like the way that they have folded into this game elements of the story as gameplay mechanics. So there is the fact that you can turn into blue butterflies, very reminiscent of the caterpillar, to dodge things. That's with the right bumper. And then with the left bumper, you can shrink with the Drink Me potion, as in the story. It's fantastic to take those aspects of the story that take her through doorways and onwards in the journey and turn them into push of a button gameplay mechanics.
My God, I'm shrinking with this potion. Shall I disappear?
Almost. But the upside is that while smaller, you can see things that are nearly invisible to your bigger self.
Ah, I get it. Right. Forests for the trees. Just the other way round. Short-sighted is more than a matter of perspective.
I also really enjoy the fact that that they weave into the narrative of the game those little strange ditties that Lewis Carroll put into his book. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Short-sighted is more than a matter of perspective. All these sorts of things are simply wonderful, and drawing on the source material in the best way, but as I say, always expanding upon it as well. So, Shrink. I love the way that she hiccups while she's tiny. Like it's a slightly alcoholic elixir, perhaps, that she's partaking of. Now, when you are shrunk, you can see things that you can't see when you're bigger. For example, these little drawings on the walls reminding you, giving you a hint of which way to go. And also these tiny little flowers called shrinking violets. What a wonderful name, that grab you and reinvigorate you. But I'll come back to that in just a moment. We collect teeth for some reason. I haven't quite figured out why that is. But it's, again, deliciously grim. Oh, giant snail. And I think that's exactly the point. This game feels exactly the way it's meant to feel. It feels like you are wandering through a dreamscape. You're wandering through Alice's subconscious, and so of course the gravity of logic is going to be twisted and diverging in different directions. It is, again, utterly appropriate for the game. Ooh, another memory.
Oh, we'll never have more fun alone than when I rode the big slide in Hyde Park. Papa will take you soon, Alice.
A big slide in Hyde Park? What could that be a reference to? Boing. A big slide! Hooray! So yeah, so as she remembers little things, the landscape of her psychology forms concurrent obstacles. She remembers sliding down a slide with her family, and now a slide appears in Wonderland. Now, I was a little bit unfair to the Disney animation earlier, although look at that. Looks like other people haven't landed so well off the slide, have they? Oh dear. Yes, I was a little bit unfair to the Disney animation a bit earlier, because the Disney animation, while softer, I suppose, than this, without a doubt, certainly didn't have blood rivers in that animation. It also did have enough of a weirdness to scare me. I remember being particularly scared of the Mad Hatter and the Red Queen in that film. So the darkness really is just a little bit of an extension of Lewis Carroll.
I've not come back here looking for a fight.
Really?
It's not a perversion, it is an extension. The Vorpal Blade. You have just obtained the Vorpal Blade. It goes snicker-snack. It leaves them dead, as seen in a previous poem. Okay. Press X to attack with the Vorpal Blade. There we go. It's pretty cool. Oh, what's this memory?
Flight or fight implies a permanent choice, but flight often just means putting off the fight to another day. Choose your battles wisely, Alice.
So she's met a great many people in her life, some of whom are, for example, doctors, hence the memory being the shape of a syringe. Insidious ruin with a baby face made out of twisted, dark corruption. It's delicious. And also, I love, in terms of deliciousness, the fact that her hair is so over-engineered, as I said at the beginning. The fact that as you fight, her hair wafts about. It is untamed, it is unruly, it is just the right side of unkempt, I think. It adds to that gothic character, and it absolutely reminds you of of the force of her actions when she's fighting. It's beautiful. Now the shrinking violets, when you do reinvigorate your life. Ooh, recover memory. This is some glasses. This is the therapist.
Human purpose is fickle because
The
it is
slave to memory.
Memories must be strictly
Managed.
managed. Unproductive ones
Must be eliminated. Now, of course, the question is whether or not her therapist has her well-being as his guiding star. That's something that we will find out throughout the game. But the game opens with her in therapy, and to a certain extent, this is all about her trying to reconcile those things that are coming up out of therapy, out of her subconscious, because of his treatment. So yep, you can do a double jump and a float. Actually, you can chain these things together as well. So jump and hold A to float down, using Alice's dress as a sort of parachute, I suppose. And float down. There you go. Again, it's all very beautiful. To a certain extent, I was asking before whether or not style and substance are balanced in this game, but I think to a certain extent the substance is partly managed by the style, and the style keeps the substance interesting.
It's you again, Alice. You may approach. Why would I do that?
So yes, nothing groundbreaking, but certainly
Yes, well, you
entertaining.
And I've lost my taste for mad women. Strictly a porcine diet for me. Everything's better with bacon, don't you agree? Of course you do. Now, there are pig snouts scattered about. I heard a few behind the house. Go fetch them for me. But take care of the pests that block your way. Pepper them up if they do. They need spice, and you're just the girl to season them for me. You'll find that grinder serviceable. Why not season your own pig parts? Matter of priorities. My alabaster skin
Alabaster
protection
skin.
from the disgusting creatures running amok amidst the environs. But one gets peckish. Look, all you have to do is listen for the oink, then shoot the snout. You may like the results. I certainly will.
Cannibalistic, hideous woman who I remember when I first read. I haven't read the whole story, but I've certainly read part of the story. She's terrifying me. To a certain extent, she's more scary than the Queen herself, actually. But the Duchess's Pepper Grinder Piglet Edition. Spice up your foes. Prepare savoury snouts. Okay. Now, because I've been playing the game, I have already got certain weapons, like for example the play horse here, the knife we just picked up, the Mad Hatter bomb. It's like a rabbit that you press B again to explode, and then we're about to see the pepper grinder in action against bolterflies. Instead of butterflies, we have bolterflies made out of bolts. So yes, this pepper grinder is made of metal. It's not wood. It's been upgraded quite a lot, shall we say. It's a very satisfying weapon to use. Now, when I first played through this section, I remember being a bit frustrated. The pepper grinder initially is quite underpowered, and the controls, because of that slightly saccharine feeling that I was describing earlier, mean that sometimes you can feel as though the game's not quite doing what you want it to do, or what you need it to do. Just slightly. It's a niggle, but it's something that, compared to more modern, certainly for example third-person shooters, you will notice. And so I'm finding this relatively easy now, having played the game for quite a while. But initially I found it a touch frustrating, and so again we come back to that balance between gameplay and style. And thankfully, as I say, the style, the character of Alice and the world that she is in is enough to get you over those little humps in terms of gameplay niggles. But I adore the way that another little gameplay mechanic that they've woven in here is that her life bar is red roses. And so as she takes damage, but then also as she refills her health, for example in the Shrinking Violence, the roses are repainted red. Painting the roses red. Which is absolutely a reference. Oh, I remember the song in the Disney movie, but also the Queen of Hearts is having all the roses painted red, in both the book and the movie. So I like that. Even the life bar is thematic to Alice in Wonderland. It's perfect.
Thank you so much.
It does make me wonder what American McGee, the creative mind behind this version of Alice, would create if he wasn't creating an Alice game. I wonder if he could create something equally interesting, perhaps even darker. Perhaps I'll have to look more into his back catalogue, I think. Okay, so through we go. There's another snout. Now, so you click the right stick to bring up the aiming reticule, and it's a little bit oversensitive. But again, I've had some experience now, so I can manage it. That brings in some dominoes. Of course it does. Pepper up the snouts, bring in the floating dominoes. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, didn't make the jump. Okay. Not the bolter flies. Well. Go away, go away. Shoot. Let's see, can I bounce up here? So what, I'll take the dominoes first, and then I'll try that other jump in a bit. The mixture of combat is satisfying. It's also very satisfying to dodge enemy attacks at the right moment by turning into a cloud of blue butterflies. When the bolterflies grab hold of you, you have to dodge or become a cloud in order to escape them, actually, their influence. That said, I should be taking out the bolterflies' nests, not just the flies themselves. There we go. There's another nest over there. Excellent. I need to let the pepper grinder cool down. So yeah, by no means is it a bad game at all in terms of gameplay mechanics. It's just not pushing the boundaries as much as some of the style is pleasingly evocative. Oh, let's see. Get some teeth. There's a snout up there. Floating pig snout. It is, isn't it? It's a dreamscape. I know I've definitely had dreams almost as crazy as this. Ooh, a feather memory.
Finish your sleep, girls. Bovine juveniles gave their all for it.
Lovely. Bovine juveniles gave their all for your soup. Oh, the mock turtle. Lost at sea. Oh, poor mock turtle. More teeth. And there we go. So what do you guys think? You know, any thoughts or comments on maybe your experiences of this game? I might be being a little bit easier on it than otherwise might be. If this was, I don't know, if this was like a Marvel movie tie-in, I'd be saying this is the most repetitive, generic platforming title I've ever seen. But because of the style, perhaps I'm being a little bit lighter on it than otherwise I might be. I love the also the I suppose the symbol, the metaphor, perhaps, of the darkness, the sort of the sludge infesting her subconscious. Oh, okay, well. Boing. There's a particular point in the game that I want to try and get to in this game. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get there. If we can just get there. Alright, now I'm not gonna go up there just yet. I'm gonna head over here. Can we bounce on? Oh no, we can't bounce on the lava-like chutes. Of course not. Boing. There we go. We should all have bouncy mushrooms in our lives. Oh no 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 no! Oh! Oh! I also love the nightmarish screams as well that you hear when she's dying and respawning. Very appropriate. Okay. Okay. And oh, can we make it over there? Yes. And float. There we go. Smash the snail shells. Get the teeth. Oh.
The railway running through Wonderland sounds charming, but
Inefficient.
Noise and smoke, like snips and snails, perhaps. Best to forget that train. A mock turtle as conductor. Oh no, I don't think that would do it.
So yes, her therapist is trying to get her to move on from this fantasy of Wonderland, which I think is a real shame. And again, you have to wonder, what are his motivations? Has he got anything to do with the fire that killed her parents? That's something to find out. And here we come to the train. After a brief and completely invisible loading screen there. Yeah, again, there are aspects of the game that do age it somewhat, but then again, lots of games at this point had full-on, really harsh loading screens. A couple of seconds of loading is okay for a 2011 Xbox 360 game, I think. Again, I love the way her hair moves as she fights. I would not like to be caught in a dark alley with her when she's angry. Get off. There we go. Where's the nest? Ah, there it is. So the train has been derailed, though. Hollow Eves. Read this as your life depended on it, because it does. Gather these pearly whites to prevent your premature arrival before the pearly gates. Oh, hence the teeth. Very clever. My friends can use the choppers, and you'll improve your weapon's capacity. Ah. Oh, this is the bow on her dress. Ah. Nice. It's a nice detail. Yes, so the train has been derailed. I guess we must...
With hated mechanical malfunctions, this disaster is either his doing or his epitaph.
Let's follow the rail, see where it leads. Also, you may or may not have noticed on the screen, it's a bit hard sometimes to see, but all the way through this, we're following a small character. I think it might be a younger version of herself. I'm not sure yet, but there is I think a little girl that we're following through this. We sort of heard her giggling just before. Into the dark. And down another slide. Oop. And now instead of snail shells we have little teapots. A mad cat. Now, in this section, I'm really pleased to say that I very much enjoyed the challenge of these guys. These guys, they will gang up on you. They are mean little creatures with their forks and Tupperware. Tupperware? Ceramic hats, teapots and things on their heads. And it makes for a welcome change of pace in terms of combat. But even these guys do become a little bit repetitive, if I'm honest. Alice can dodge enemies. We already know this. See, dodging at just the right time there, very satisfying. I like the fact that his shield, the little pot lid, works as a shield as well. So, again, not groundbreaking, but satisfying. Also satisfying to mix up the combat techniques as well. Use your pepper grinder and your knife. It's not often you get to say that in a sentence, is it? Ah. Oh, I'm losing some of my red roses. Okay, come on, come on. Come on, jump at me, come on. Dodge. Hit. There we go. There we go. So, I suppose my answer to this quandary, Lewis Carroll's quandary about growing up, is that one should never entirely grow up. Of course, you shouldn't be looking to let go of all those things that brought you so much joy as a child. Oh. Interesting. That's the little guy inside some sort of robotic golem of sorts. So here we go. A shrinking violet, and if we go inside her, then the flowers are painted red again. It's a wonderful mechanic. And as I say, I'll definitely be picking up the art book sometime soon. I actually recently picked up an art book for Castlevania Lords of Shadow, I believe. And another one that I have my eyes on is the art of Krampus, the Christmas demon. So I have a couple of art books to add to the collection. Lost and don't know where to go, try using Shrink, where the violets grow. While Shrink Sense will reveal hidden paths and clues. And actually there's an aspect of this that I really very much appreciate as well. Bearing in mind that Alice is a late Victorian... Oh, go away! A late Victorian girl. There we go. She will reference certain things with her subconscious, will she not? And one of those things I think would be hopscotch. So if we shrink her, the pathway that's invisible is drawn out in a sort of ethereal chalk line. Isn't that cool? But also, if we shrink her, we see that those rocks disappear, and we can go through here. What's through here? Ooh, it's another... Oh, it's a collect bottle. Ah, okay. It's one. It's a collectible. That's good. I think I might have missed that on my first playthrough. It's always good to go back. So, yes, The chalk lines disappear, but the platform stays there. And if you want to see it again, all you need to do is shrink down. And they reveal themselves. But again, the chalk lines, brilliant.
It could have happened that way, Alice. You remember poor Mr. Crook died, didn't he? Dr. Wilson rejects spontaneous combustion.
I trust Mr. Dickens. I wonder which is that a reference? Presumably a reference to Charles Dickens, but which book has someone spontaneously combust in a Charles Dickens story? I wonder. Oh, there we go. Break up the picnic basket. Pick up the golden teeth. More things you've never thought you'd say in a sentence. Do and float. There we go. Brilliant. And this is where I wanted to get to. This is magnificent. This is the Hatter's Domain, a clockwork tea party factory of sorts, with hats and teapots and clocks and gothic steampunky grimness everywhere. I just want to take a little bit of a closer look before we end our time together today. So let's blow the teapot and call the cable car. Which of course is a giant teapot. There's a waterfall of tea in the background there as well. Tea everywhere. Again, this feels like an extension of Lewis Carroll. Hatter Industries. It's an extension with hindsight. You know, the importance of the Industrial Revolution, and also, of course, certain artistic developments like steampunk.
Almost as I remember it.
Appearances, as you know better than most, can be deceiving, Alice. Much has changed since your last visit.
Dr. Bumby says change is constructive, that different is good.
Different denotes neither bad nor good. It certainly means not the same. Find the Hatter, Alice. He knows more about different than you.
But does he know more about the difference between bad and good?
Unlikely.
Make new friends, Alice. You're as randomly lethal and entirely confused as you ever were.
Randomly lethal.
I've managed without you so much. Return to whatever hovels home to you. I'll call if I need you.
Predictably rare. It's not a question of if, Alice. It's when. Now hold on. And as they say, shut up.
So typical.
Oh dear, they've sent us down an unplanned path. Well, obviously planned in the context of the structure of the game, but you know, this wasn't where the cable car was meant to go, into a wall. Smashing into a wall. And here we are in essentially the second major part of Wonderland. It is sprawling and there's lots to see, and I don't think we're going to manage to go and see the Hatter today. Or you can jump on the steam vents. But also notice that her dress has changed to the steampunk dress. I like it. Bit of an affectation that her dress changes. But then again, this is her mind. Of course her costume can change at a moment's notice. Recover memory.
Lizzie, remember when a burst of steam blew your dress up around
Ah.
your neck? Just outside Harrods it was. Fortunately your undergarments had been laundered.
Nice. So the memory is of steam blowing up her sister's dress, I think. And so in her mind, she has a moment. She falls into oblivion. A moment where she has steam blowing up her dress and making her float in the air. Nice. And here we are. Yep, all the cogs and the floating platforms, all very reminiscent, certainly for me, of the Scarecrow levels in the Arkham Asylum, well, the Arkham games, but certainly Arkham Asylum. Surely to goodness they were referencing this sort of thing when they made that, where Batman doesn't initially know that he's hallucinating in that surreal landscape. But this is a game back in 2011, drawing on artwork and a world set forth in 2000, or the year 2000, and I think doing it very well. Again, not style over substance. Style informing and carrying the substance. Oh, dodos. Dodos hung out dead, bleeding out on the floor. Dark things are afoot. Smash the boxes. Oh, shrink through the keyhole. Now in the story, I think she passes through a keyhole in a door to get through to a new area. In this, I like the way that the doors are simply small doors shaped like keyholes. That's quite cool. Pull the lever. Stop the cog. Seen the bulb flies, the sort of fireflies of bulbs. Again, referencing a sort of, I suppose, a late Victorian child's fascination with new potential technologies. I don't know if the light bulb would have been something that she'd be familiar with, but again, with that sort of steampunk hindsight going on, these are things that would fascinate her. You know, when a child learns about the dodo, dead as a dodo, and then the dodo may become a point of fascination for them. New things like electricity. Factories and industry that maybe she's seen in and around London, informing her subconscious. And apparently that's kind of where the third game is, if it happens, is going to be going, is that Alice has the power to not only enter her own psychology and her own point, you know, in that sense, her own frames of reference in terms of things like industry and Wonderland, but also in asylum. Apparently she would be in a grown-up asylum, not a child asylum now, and will be able to enter other people's psychoses and explore those in order to, I think, escape the asylum. It's a very interesting idea, and I hope they get it off the ground. Because, yeah, we've been, in that sense, we've been here twice now. We've been here before, and maybe it would be fun to explore other people's fears and imaginations and fascinations in that sense, but with this sort of style. And that would be a true extension of the Alice in Wonderland concept, wouldn't it? As a metaphor for childhood becoming adulthood, and the struggle to reconcile what's expected of you from the outside world, from what you want to be like in your inside world, to extend that to exploring other people's minds would be brilliant. But I'm not going to hold my breath, shall we say. Looks like it's probably some time off. Oh. Another madcap. And I think we'll go up here, and then we'll bring our gameplay to an end, I think, for today. It has been fun. I've also really been enjoying sort of revisiting the character of Cheshire Cat as well, and his slightly antagonistic helpfulness. Now, this is what I mean by, at times the combat can be a bit frustrating, but it's also a welcome challenge. These guys absolutely do not wait for you to be ready to be attacked. See what I mean? They gang up on you, and that's fine. That's okay. That's just this means you've got to get good, as they say. Oh no, no. Ah, I'm not gonna leave it like that. Continue. Yes. But yes, you've got to get good. Get gooder than that. Definitely. Come on. Heed the cat. He offers hints to those in need. Okay. I'm going to start with the pepper grinder. How about ya? There we go. That's more like it. And dodge. Dodge. There we go. There we go. That's more like it. Pick up the teeth. Dodge. Go get. Oh, ow. Okay. Dodge. 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 The camera needs a bit of work, the automatic camera, as it were. Definitely having to work quite hard to move the camera around and see what I'm doing. Come on. Okay, I'm gonna smash your shield. Why didn't I do that earlier with the rocking horse? Or the hobby horse? Hobby horse, that's it, not rocking horse. There we go. It's also worthwhile mentioning the soundtrack. I remember when I first played through this area, becoming quite bored of the soundtrack. I was really quite fed up of the soundtrack actually at this point, because it is not the best by any means. This is actually Alice in a Fury mode, which is quite useful when you're down to low life. Look at there, she's crying blood, everything goes black and white and inverse in the colour scheme, and her hair floats around her head. The shorter hair, in fact, actually is much more akin to what she looks like in real life. And so in that sense, her fury in Wonderland and the cracked glass, you might be able to see that on the screen, seems to reflect her real life trauma. I like that a lot. But yeah, so the music I did turn down, I seem to recall in the options. And I never really looked back. I turned the music back up again for this playthrough, but it really is a very repetitive soundtrack. But again, as I say, the world that this game creates absolutely keeps me coming back for more. So let's leave it there, shall we? I didn't mean to do an upskirt there. Let's leave it there, shall we? I very much enjoyed revisiting the beginning of this game, and I would strongly recommend it. If you're at all interested in this sort of visual aesthetic, into some of the psychological themes that we've touched on, or in fact in a hack and slash platformer, and you're not expecting too much from it, then why not dive into Alice Madness Returns, and certainly show a bit of love to what could be a very, very interesting third part for this franchise. So, you know, perhaps by showing some support in investigating what American McGee is up to at the moment, we might be able to help bring about that third part, and maybe as well even advise on it. I think at the moment he's looking for advice on what to include in the game, what gameplay elements might improve this formula. But as a formula, what a game. As ever guys, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.